Hey everybody, welcome to Late Night Movie Talk. Happy 4th of July to everybody. It's Jake, and today we're going to talk about Jurassic World Rebirth. It's directed by Gareth Edwards, starring Scarlett Johansson, Mahershala Ali, Jonathan Bailey, and Rupert Friend, and a bunch of other people that you're not going to care about. And up front, I didn't really want to see this movie. I wasn't really looking forward to it. I'm not the biggest Jurassic Park fan, apart from the first one. And I basically, I ended up seeing this movie just to make a video and be able to talk to my one friend about it, who knows who he is. He's probably the biggest Jurassic Park fan that I know. So this is for you. And he's going to hate it, but that's okay. So the plot of the movie is, this group of basically mercenaries are searching for, DNA samples from these dinosaurs on this island that was used for experiments and crossbreeding and stuff like that. And they were deemed too dangerous and too ugly for the main park. So they were basically just thrown on this island to be forgot about. And they crash there and they have to find the DNA samples and then survive and escape. And so what works for this movie for me is going to be the two leads. You got Scarlett Johansson and you have Mahershala Ali. They play former military MARSOC Marines, which anybody who knows MARSOC, it's going to make it giggle a little. But what works is those two characters. They both are very good. One, they're good actors, and they work well. Their on-screen chemistry works well for me. They have good screen presence, and I like their characters. They're given the most background for the most part, so there's just more to get attached to. The other good parts about this movie are more far and few between, but you got those initial boat chase sequences where that family, their sailboat gets capsized. They get attacked by a dinosaur in the water in the middle of the ocean, and they ended up getting rescued by the mercenaries' boat. And then that leads to another boat chase from multiple dinosaurs, and they end up crashing that boat. And there's some pretty good action throughout that beginning part before they crash onto the island. I like that for the most part. I thought that was mostly well done. And then when you get on the island and the two groups separate naturally, because why wouldn't they? When the mercenaries go off and they try to extract the DNA from the other dinosaurs, there's some really cool parts. Well, a couple parts. They got one where they're going after these giant, long necks, and then they got the one they're basically going after these flying dinosaur off the side of a cliff, like 500 feet in the air, which was, again, mostly well done. My biggest issue with this movie is that, one, it's mostly just anticlimactic. I think all the best scenes were from the boat scene, whenever they were being chased by the dinosaurs, whenever they were crashing. That was probably the most intense moments and the best, the most exciting parts of the movie. After that, there's a few moments sprinkled here and there, but it just doesn't quite. You're never really on the edge of your seat, like you would expect with facing giant dinosaurs. And the next biggest issue I have is the family altogether. Why are they even in the movie? There's just too many characters. This movie would have been perfectly fine if you didn't have the family in it and you could just focus on the mercenary teams. There's already tension in that, so you could already have, your antagonist, your protagonist. There's enough there to push the story forward, and it doesn't get bogged down by these not funny scenes that, because they use the boyfriend as comedic relief. It doesn't really work for me. And they're, the typical trope where they use the kid for fake, tension, because, naturally she becomes in danger. She's the one that everybody's trying to protect. She's a kid, and she's safe. Like 0.1% of movies ever have the balls to kill a kid. One that is considered probably one of the main characters. So you never actually felt she was in danger, even when she's being chased by a T-Rex. I'm just sitting there, I'm like, yeah, she's gonna live. Like, I doubt for a second that anybody's in real danger from this family. Like, you can establish pretty early on who's going to survive, who's not going to survive. So you got too many characters, and if you get rid of that family, the movie flows a lot better. You got to cut down that runtime because there's some parts where it's really just boring. I'm just struggling to, pay attention because it's so slow and it's a bunch of things that are not interesting. And when we get to to the island and they start, searching for for these, different DNA samples, there's some parts where you could tell they're blatantly trying to use nostalgia, from the first movie, and you could see them trying to mimic the score. I'm not sure if they have the right to the original score or not, but it's just the music I thought was so lackluster compared to the original, which is probably one of the greatest film scores of all time. And so I was like, if you're not going to use the score, then you got to go completely different instead of trying to sort of sound like it but fail. So that was, another issue for me. The villain, which I'm sure everybody can guess, it's going to be the corporate guy who's paying for everything, who wants the DNA samples to begin with. That's really no surprise, and you can predict where that is going to go. So I'm not going to even attempt to explain that. I just found it very generic, which I didn't need it to be anything other than what it was. It's just that everything that you're trying to do in this movie, from the dinosaurs to the tension to the characters, to the final battle, which was very disappointing. It was very lackluster. We've seen before, but we've seen it better 30 years ago. That's a problem. So stop trying to compare yourself to the original movie. We've long established that you can't top the original Jurassic Park. So just stop trying. Now, there's things that this movie does try to do different, and I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, most of it falls kind of flat. I do like the fact that they threw a T-Rex in there. That was a nice little, throwback, and they didn't make the T-Rex the final boss, if you will. But the thing that they used in its place, this abomination-looking thing, was just worse. I mean, I would rather maybe just use another T-Rex, a bigger T-Rex, maybe with 4 arms. I don't care. But the thing that you used was, like, he was just dumb, and one character was able to just get away from it. And I'm like, so this thing's not really as menacing as you made it out to be. So, like, that's what I mean by anticlimactic, because there wasn't this big showdown. There wasn't this big chase, from the dinosaurs. There was really nothing of substance when it came to the dinosaurs. And the dinosaurs are the biggest part of this movie that are underutilized. A movie about dinosaurs. Again, we're focusing like more on these human characters that you really don't care about. And the only reason you care about the family is because they have a kid. And it's played out. And if you're going to, do things that are been done 100 times before, you have to make them likable or interesting. And you have to narrow in who you're going to really focus on instead of splitting so much screen time between so many different characters. I'm going to stop ranting about that, but it really bugged me. It really dragged the movie down like a lot. And this thing it comes in at like 2 hours and 15 minutes, and you feel every minute of it, and then some. So you gotta you know, they should have really just streamlined this movie. Cut it down to, man, an hour 50. I mean, if you cut all the family scenes out, I mean, that's got to be a big chunk. Um, and then I would, focus more on the team trying to extract the DNA samples from the different dinosaurs, because there was some natural tension with that, because these are some of the, like, some mercenaries that you don't think are going to be safe. Some of them actually aren't safe. So that would have been some real tension, and you would have been a little bit more invested into it because it's dangerous. And some of the scenes, one was off like a cliff. I think they said it was like 500 feet, up. So that it does the work for you. It's already dangerous. So you're already like, oh crap, are they going to live? Like, so those scenes work, but they don't do enough of it. They don't use it enough, and they don't use the dinosaurs enough. And at the end of the day, I know I'm harping on this movie a lot. There were some things that I did enjoy about it. Like I said, the boat scenes I thought were pretty good overall. The two leads between Scarlett Johansson and Mahershala Ali, I thought they were very good. And the some of the scenes where they're going after these DNA samples, some of them, they did okay with them, but there's just not enough. I don't know. It's just missing it. You know what I mean? Like, it's missing it. I don't know what it is, but it's missing. And I don't know, maybe it's just something to care about because we're on movie 7, I think, now, and it feels like nothing really has changed in 30 years. So that could be it. Like, maybe it's time to retire the franchise and or put it on a very long break. I mean, a very long break, 15, 20 years, something. Overall, it's not a bad time, but it's not something I would pay. I wouldn't pay for a premium format. I wouldn't pay full price for this. If anything, maybe a matinee if you're a big fan of this franchise. But overall, it's a 2.5 out of 5 for me. It's relatively mediocre overall, unfortunately, because there were points where I was like, okay, it's picking up. Maybe I'll like it some more, but it just never reaches that height for me. Anyway, if you've seen the movie, it's out, it's playing, people are kind of seeing it. So if you've seen it already, I mean, it's 4th of July today, so a bunch of people probably already have. It's been out, and it was the Monday mystery movie, so people saw it early. So if you've seen it, comment below, let me know. Go ahead and give a like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Have a happy 4th of July. Don't blow your hands off, and don't drink and drive. Peace.